Hello and welcome to Candidates Night 2019, sponsored by the Close-Up Club and WLTS TV 21. My name is Jake Serrano, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's debate. Joining us this evening are candidates for the Lacey Township Board of Education. We welcome Salvatore Armato, Linda A. Downing, Sean Giordano, Ashley Larson, Sonia Marcatello, Harold Peters, Gavin C. Rozzi, Edward Scanlon, and Donna McAvoy was unable to join us for tonight's debate. Thank you for all being here for tonight. 4 student panelists will each ask a question to the candidates, and they will respond in a pre-selected random order. We welcome Michael Price, Joe Kolodchik, Brian Engel, and Trey Kennis. We'll start tonight's debate with opening statements. You will each have 3 minutes. Mr. Scanlon, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'm Ed Scanlon, and I'd like to first of all thank the students of the Lacey Township Close-Up Club for inviting us here tonight, give us an opportunity to answer your questions and express our views. About myself, I moved to Lacey Township 47 years ago, and in that time I've been very active in the town. I've served on a township committee and former mayor, been on the planning board, currently on the Board of Adjustment. I was an assistant coach with Lacey Little League and Lacey Soccer. I was Cub Scout leader, Webelos leader, and committee chairman for the PAC 156. As far as my background, I taught and retired from Old Bridge Township. I taught for 34 years, and while I was there, I was also the girls' soccer coach, among other things. The reason that I have chosen to run, I became very concerned with the recent cuts that affected some of the some of the support staff and the paraprofessionals in the town, along with the budgeting. So my reason for being involved is because I'd like to see if there are new ways or better ways to do things, new ways to find income, look for revenue sources, and just work to continue to improve our school. And thank you.
Mrs. Downing, your opening statement, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to first thank Close-Up for this opportunity, and thank you, Jake, for moderating this. First of all, I've been a resident in Lacey for 35 plus years. I am seeking my 10th term on the school board. My daughter grew up in Lacey Township, went to school K through 12, and now I have 3 beautiful grandchildren going through the school system, 1 in middle school and 2 in the Mill Pond School. I am a retired school principal. I taught for 25 years prior to going into administration, and I was then promoted to supervisor of instruction and then assistant principal and then principal. Now, as a retiree, I retired 6 years ago, but now I'm doing interim work. I haven't stopped working since I retired. So I've been interim principal out in Medford in 3 different schools, Beach Haven for 2 years. I've been supervisor of science in the Toms River Regional Schools on the intermediate level. And right now I'm presently working in the preschool autism and disabled preschool at Toms River Schools. I've been dedicated to the students and the school district since 1992. When I ran in 1992, I ran on the issue that they were going to privatize the busing, and that's what got me involved to begin with. Now, I still am opposed to that. I have a master's of science in educational leadership. I have a master's in education. In my spare time, I spend a lot of my spare time with my grandchildren, and I also have presently, in the last year and a half, served on CASA. CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Foster Children, and I work with the courts and with making sure that our foster children are getting what they need and what they are entitled to. And it's one very rewarding, as well as the school board, very rewarding experience. I want to thank you again for allowing me to be here tonight, and I look forward to the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Mr. Almano, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting this event tonight. I'd like to begin about telling you a little bit about myself. I've been living in Lacey now for 13 years. My wife is a business owner in town. My 4 children have either graduated or still attend Lacey schools today. I'm an involved member of this great community. I've coached basketball for over 6 years. I've held the vice president title for the LTBA, teach religious education at St. Pius, and read at Sunday Mass every first Sunday of the month. I do this because it's my obligation as a resident of this town to do whatever I can to continue making this town even greater than it was when I first moved here. It is a great honor to be one of the candidates running for this school board. As a business person, a parent, and a coach, I feel that I'm exactly what this school board needs due to its current state. A candidate who is willing to work tirelessly to bring this district back to prominence. A candidate who understands in order to begin to climb back to the top, we need to begin right here in this building with a focus on education. A candidate with no conflicts, no family working for the district, with one vision to bring this community together to restore lion pride in and out of the classroom. Our schools here in Lacey are suffering today. Our current board likes to lay the blame at the feet of the state and everyone else, but will not take ownership for its failures and shortcomings to provide you with the best education possible. Our current board likes to talk about experience, but that experience they talk about is taking a prominent school district and turned it into an average school district. I, for one, do not think we are average. I know many of the students and teachers here, and I know that they are far from average. You see, the current board has no clue how to fight its way out of this situation. If they did, they would have done it already. Our current board has no idea how to make a school district go from good to great. Our current school board thinks that Lacey Township is just fine with the status quo. They think you're all fine with being second best. I beg to differ. My goal is to come in and restore academic pride, to ensure the teachers I will fight for them, to ensure your parents that I will fight for education, and to ensure all the taxpayers that the new school board will be fiscally responsible. Yet again, I tell you that we cannot do this alone. It's going to take the entire township to fix this hole this current school board has put us in. To get this township to embrace this new school board, we will need to be transparent, share information, and be respectful of every resident in this town. Our goal is to be a proactive school board who will work with every resident of this great district. Once elected, I will work towards removing the negative perceptions that tag us, and with all your help, begin to write a new story about the Lacey Township Board of Education. Thank you.
Ms. Marcatello, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Jake. Good evening. My name is Sonia Marcatello. I am a product of 2 Italian immigrants that have exemplified what needs to be done to be successful: hard work and persistence. I grew up in Egg Harbor City, attending public schools my entire life. I have volunteered and/or worked in healthcare since I was 16 years old. I became a registered nurse in 1998, attended Atlantic County Community College, Helene Fold School of Nursing, and Thomas Jefferson University. In 2002, I completed the school nurse and health educator certification program at Rowan University. In 2004, without knowing one soul, I moved to Lacey Township, New Jersey, and have been in the same home ever since. I have 2 children who attend Lacey schools since kindergarten, and they're a product of our great staff in Lacey Township. I have 21 years of nursing expertise under my belt, including upper management. I was a teacher at Atlantic County Institute of Technology. I had the privilege of educating 9th and 10th grade students, as well as special needs students in the 9th through 12th grades. I'm certified by the American Heart Association to teach CPR. I have sat on the board of Lacey Soccer Club as a trustee and a secretary, and I'm a former member of the St. Pius X Health Ministry. So I'm not afraid to get involved. During my time working as a certified school nurse since 2002, I was an active member of the Ocean County, New Jersey, and National School Nurses Association. I had the opportunity to participate in the process of updating the New Jersey School Health Guidelines. Upon request, I've even presented on a variety of health topics to groups within our community. Three major items that come to mind that have motivated me to submit a petition for the Lacey Township Board of Education are: one, being proud and increasing pride in our kids, staff, and residents. I want to know why and how so many have left our schools, whether to attend another district or to be homeschooled. What would it take to get them back? Number two, specific focus on safety and overall well-being. I want our kids to feel a real sense of safety and security. Number three, identify areas to generate income and trim spending on areas that are not necessary right now. I'm willing to put the time and effort that's required to see what options are available to us without cutting staff or increasing taxes. Thank you for your attention and your consideration. I'm looking forward to putting my work and life experiences to good use and to be a positive force that drives all students, parents, and neighbors to have that lion pride.
Mr. Giordano, your opening statement, please.
Thank you and good evening. I'd like to thank the Close-Up Club and Mr. Merman for providing this forum tonight so the voters of Lacey Township can make an informed decision when voting in this year's school election. I'm Sean Giordano, and I'm running for the Lacey Township Board of Education for a third term. I've been a resident of Lacey Township for 48 years. My parents, Anthony and Elaine, chose Forked River to raise their children. I choose Lacey to raise my children, and I'm proud to call Lacey Township home. I attended the Lacey Township school system from K through 12 and graduated with the class of 1988. After high school, I attended Seton Hall University and obtained a Bachelor's of Science degree in Management Information Systems. I also earned my certification by the State Department of Education as a school business administrator. I've spent the last 25 years in the technology industry where I've held positions of increasing responsibility and leadership, one of which was an executive of a publicly traded company, taking them from 44 to 80 million in 4 years. The reason I'm running for a third term is the same as when I first began. I had a positive experience growing up in town and attending our schools, and I wanted to give back to my community as a volunteer. My number one priorities are the students of this school district. As a board member and bringing the first ever strategic plan to the school district, this 3-year strategic plan brought the community members together for the first time to shape a vision and strategy on how we collectively would like to move the district forward. I believe this plan was a success, and as a result, it has resulted in a new 5-year plan, which is currently being developed. Our school district has a lot to be proud of. The strategic plan, the Ocean County College Academy, Humanities and Leadership Academies, an increase in AP course offerings, to name a few. We have managed to make many capital improvements as an overhaul of our district, such as a wireless network, replacement of mill pond boilers, a new gym floor, and a new track at the high school. This was all made possible by sound financial management. The school administration, in tandem with working with the current board, have been able to keep taxes stable, with a 0.93 cents increase on every $1,000 of assessed home value. All of this accomplished when the state has cut nearly $4.4 million of funding to the Lacey Township School District. We are facing unprecedented times. A high-functioning board works together as a team, debates and resolves issues, and engages in healthy conflict. This is how progress is made. It is so critically important to have experienced board members who possess educational and financial knowledge, as well as leadership skills. This is precisely why I'm asking you to support myself and my team, Linda Downing, Donna McAvoy, who could not be here this evening, and Skip Peters. Thank you.
Ms. Larson, your opening statement, please.
Excuse me. I'd like to thank Mr. Merman and the Close-Up Club for having us here tonight. This is a great opportunity for us candidates to get in touch with students firsthand on what we're running on. So a few of my qualifications: I was and I currently am a student leader at OCC. I have over 100 hours of certified leadership training from my school. I am a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success, which is the only political science honor society in the country. Thank you. I'm also a volunteer coordinator for the nonprofit Jersey Cares, which leads volunteer opportunities across New Jersey. So you'll see me at beach sweeps in Island Beach if you guys are ever interested. I also work at a local preschool in town, so I spend the majority of my time with students that are going to be future Lacey High School and middle school and elementary school students. So I'm running on proficiency, mental health, and defending our special education in our schools. So Lacey ranked 380th out of 600 schools in New Jersey last year, which is decreased from the 2017 ranking of 373rd. So our reputation as well as our rankings are diminishing. When it comes to proficiency, while we have a 90% graduation rate, we have a 50% proficiency in reading and writing, as well as a 36% proficiency in mathematics. So obviously, students are not prepared to go to college, and I think that this is an obvious problem going on in our district. So how can we collaboratively fix this most concerning issue going on in our schools? I think as a candidate, I will be able to mediate a lot of the issues that are going on in our school board right now, and addressing these issues as a community. Also, 1/5 of students suffer from a mental illness, so mental health is definitely an issue in our schools. Governor Murphy actually just signed a bill that will be taking hold coming up that requires all public schools in New Jersey to have mental health education through K through 12. So it's important that we have a board member that is knowledgeable on how to correctly implement these new rules that are going to be going on in our school. So a lot of stress is the cause for low proficiency, so I want to be able to ensure that students have these resources to deal with their mental health. And also defend special education, because obviously every student deserves an equal education. It's just basic facts. So thank you for having me here tonight, and consider me as a candidate for school board. Thank you.
Mr. Peters, your opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you for the close cup for hosting everybody tonight and all the candidates here tonight. Start off, my name's Harold Peters, lived in town for 22 years. Had 2 students go through the Lacey Township School District, currently both in college right now. I was employee of Lacey Township High School for 15 years with special needs students. I was at an off-campus facility. It was an alternative school where I had all these students that couldn't make it in the regular high school environment. The town donated the building to us out there, and I, with the students, constructed the food bank and 3 classrooms in the back of the building. Part of being on the board currently now and seeking another term, I feel that being a construction owner and being involved in business would be a good asset for that aspect. I've already helped out a couple times in meetings talking about construction and some of the facilities. I feel that college is not for everyone, and I feel that there's a lot of students right now that are going severely in debt and living in their parents' basements trying to pay off bills. There's another thing out there called vocational training, which I'm a big advocate of, and I'm also a teacher of that right now. I feel that students have an option. I would love to see kids go to college, but if they can't go to college, there's a lot of companies and corporations out there looking for people with hands-on trades, which I think would bring to the board that I could help out with that and help achieve different goals through the district. I ran into a student the other day at a local restaurant, and he came up to me and said, "I saw your name is on some signs in town. What are you doing?" I said, "I'm running for school board." And he looked at me and he said, "You know, when I had you as a student, I didn't like you very much because a lot of things you said to me I didn't agree with. But now everything that you did say I do agree with, and I realized where you were with that." And I feel right now there's a lot of students that are in need of old school teaching and old school different things of holding yourselves accountable. I had, like I said again, I'll repeat again, my daughters went through the school system. They're both in college right now, and thank you for your time.
Mr. Razi, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Close-Up Club, our student panelists, and WLTS for hosting us tonight. It is my great pleasure to be here to discuss the issues with you all, and I look forward to a substantive debate on the important issues facing our district. Former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan said it best when he said, "Knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family." Throughout my entire life, I've always believed in the power of education to transform lives and make the world a better place. I have lived here in Lacey since my parents built our family home in 1997. From a young age, I knew in my heart that I wanted to make a difference and give back to our community. I began getting involved in local politics when I was just 8 years old, and I couldn't have done it without the outstanding education I received. My teachers encouraged me to speak out for what I believed in and pursue my dreams. They pushed me and every one of their students to be their best, and for that, I'm grateful. Over the years, I have served the community in various capacities. In 2012, the superintendent appointed me to serve on the district's Technology Leadership Committee, where I gave students a seat at the table and a voice during the process of major technology upgrades in our district. In my sophomore year, I had the pleasure of being elected to serve as class president. During college, I served as a teaching assistant for courses in constitutional law and civil liberties, where I helped to educate students about their rights under the First Amendment and develop their writing skills. Since then, I've continued my education, earning a BA in political science from Stockton, and I'm currently working on my master's in data science and strategic analytics. I have chosen to run for a seat on the Board of Education because I'm very concerned about the direction our schools have gone under the current administration and threats to our funding that could negatively impact our students. I believe that the current board is out of touch with the needs of the community and the challenges that our schools face. We've slipped through the cracks in academic rankings. We've had a lack of board oversight that led to millions of dollars of money that was spent on unnecessary debt instead of going into the classroom. We've had a lack of transparency and disrespect for the public at board meetings. And last year, the actions of the current administration brought national embarrassment and a federal civil rights lawsuit when 2 of our brightest students were wrongfully suspended and had the book thrown at them simply for going to a gun range with their parents. This must end. It's time to turn things around and bring positive change to Lacey schools. This is the vision that I and my running mates will bring to the board if elected. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we will move to the question and answer phase of the debate. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question and will be allowed 1 minute of rebuttal time or extra time, up to 3 times during this portion of the debate. Michael Price will ask the first question.
Good evening, candidates. As technology is becoming more important in education, what forms of tech do you feel are the most important, and how will you fund these advancements?
Mrs. Downing.
Okay, could you repeat that one more time? A little
Sure.
louder.
What forms of tech do you feel are the most important, and how will you fund these advancements?
Okay. First of all, I think technology is exceptionally important in schools. I think every child in a school, whether they're in preschool right up to senior year in college, should have a Chromebook, at least a Chromebook to use in their classroom. I think that there are so many opportunities for technology out there right now. I'm not a tech person, but there are so many different online programs that students can use. There is I'm at a loss for words at the programs I'm thinking of. But you can use technology to join classes from across the world, learn different cultures, bring math right from the college into the classroom. There are so many opportunities using technology. Unfortunately, I don't know all the terminologies of the terms. He's the tech expert right here. But I do believe that technology is very important in the classroom, and every student should be using at least a Chromebook to utilize learning outside of the classroom and beyond. Thank you.
Mr. Amato.
Technology is important in and out of the classroom. It does many things for us. Having Chromebooks is great. Having the ability to find things is great. But what's even greater is to learn how to use that technology as an advantage, not to get the answer. Again, in my opening statement, I talk about fighting for teachers. We can't just go into a classroom and expect Siri to give us the answers all the time. We can't expect Google to give us the answers all the time. We have to trust that our teachers are able to teach us how to process information. What that does for us with technology, it allows us to go out and really look for the answers that we're looking for. It allows us to utilize the World Wide Web to not only find out that George Washington was the first president of the United States, but how he became the first president of the United States, where he lived, how old he was when he became the first president of the United States, and whether or not it's true that he cut down a cherry tree. Technology is huge in this day and age, but to be used responsibly, to be used effectively, to be used with helping one another become better at what they do in the classroom. Technology is only going to get stronger. It's only going to get better. This school has APs all over the place, but not enough. It needs a refresh. APs mean access points for Wi-Fi. We need more. I can assure you that some of the connections you guys get in the classrooms in here right now are not where you want it to be. We need to do more. We need to be fiscally responsible in being able to find that. And right now, with all the things that we want to do with technology, the first thing that we have to do with technology is be responsible with it, learn how to use it properly, and make it something that we can take us into the world with, so we can be successful in the next stages in our life. Thank you.
Ms. Marcatello.
Okay, so the question was forms of technology that are most important and how to fund them.
Correct.
Okay, so first and foremost, I think it's very important that although we incorporate technology with children and with minors, we really need to hone in on safety online. There are a lot of very scary things that are going on, so although it's important for us to encourage the students to use technology because that's where the world is going and we have to keep rolling with the wheel, we just need to take into consideration that people in our generation never expected the technology industry to explode the way it did. As far as funding, I am a firm believer in if you're not an expert at it, find the expert and let's get their input. Being a teacher myself of a vocational school, I saw the value of finding content experts and teaching the kids what the current content is in that industry. So I'm a nurse. I don't know computers, but I do know who to go to and where to find the resources, and that's going to be important for us, especially with the funding idea. Maybe we need to reach out to businesses in our, not necessarily in Lacey Township, but bigger organizations that are around us that may want to get involved in a co-op kind of agreement with our township and show the students exactly how that industry is led. Because, like I said, I don't know much about technology, but I imagine it's a very expensive ticket.
Mr. Giordano.
Thank you. So I have a background in technology, and I think it's critically important for our students today to be able to leverage technology in the classroom. But it's interesting, this is the first generation of students that have been born into technology, and research is showing now that today's students see themselves as a first generation to really embrace technology. Yet their learning when it comes to technology has decreased in a lot of forms. So I'll agree with Mr. Armato and some of the facts that were talked about tonight, that teachers have to go back to teaching, they have to go back to the basics. Technology is a supplement to the educational process. Throwing a laptop or a Chromebook at a student is going to make that student an exceptional learner. Great teaching will make that student an exceptional learner. I think we have to teach responsibility and accountability with our devices. As I mentioned in my opening statement, our wireless area network in this district is very sound and performs very well with the upgrade that we just did. Again, I'm a big believer in going back to basics. There are studies that show right to left brain learning and how penmanship skills have decreased with students because they're swiping and they're using their thumbs. They're not reading and turning pages and reading or writing left to right. So I think it's critically important that we have technology in the classroom, but we also have to be very accountable and prescriptive with how we use it. In regards to funding, we were able to fund putting lights on the football field, raise $250,000 from local businesses. That's just local businesses. If we can go out to corporations, if we can go out to entities, we've got new businesses coming into town, large companies, we should be able to go to them. We have an education foundation right now that has been sputtering a little bit. That foundation should be raising substantial amount of money for these types of initiatives. And with the right leadership and the right direction, I believe they can. Thank you.
Ms. Larson.
Thank you. So I agree with what a lot of my opponents have been saying, that technology is a tool to be used and shouldn't be a supplement for education. So I think that there's a lot of creative ways that we can organize our technology to make it more beneficial to students, teachers, as well as parents. As a lot of parents might know, the parent portal can be very annoying, and there's a lot of other systems that are useful for students to be able to check their grades. But something that Ocean County College has recently done is they've developed an app. So clubs are able to reach out to members through this app. They're also able to see events that are happening on campus, as well as being able to communicate with a lot of other students that are facing similar issues to them. So I think that we can creatively organize our technology to make it more beneficial to everybody, and I think that that is something we would have to listen to students on, how they feel that technology has affected them in the classroom. Thanks.
Mr. Peters?
This is a great question. I was hoping something regarding technology was going to come out tonight as one of the questions. As a former employee here, my wood shop was around the corner from this STEM program, which Mr. Sotaro and a couple other teachers are involved in. I cannot tell you how many times they walk down to my shop. Do you have an extra this? Do you have an extra that? We don't have in our budget. Do you have an extra this? Yeah, not a problem. I'll help you out. What do you need? Well, we're building a catapult. Can you help us out with this? Can you help us out with that? Yes. We have a 3D printer. We need some help with that. Whatever it might have been. Some of my opponents feel that teachers should not be on the board because there's other conflicts where there. This is where I feel teachers should be on the board because we're involved in the classroom every day working with the students and seeing technology and see where it needs to be brought up to. And working in a different district, I've seen different things in their technology aspect opposed to Lacey's aspect, and I'm trying to bring ours up a little bit stronger than what it is now. Technology. I work with special needs students. I work at a school with 70 special needs students, whether they're blind, whether they have cancer, whether they've been in car accidents, whatever the situation is, they're nonverbal. But bringing technology into my wood shop, I brought in an automated CNC router, which is computer operated, where a kid would never be able to make anything with that, with their hands, and they can hit the enter button and they can build what they want after they designed it on the computer, me working with them. So I'm a big advocate of technology. As far as bringing money into it, I think Mr. Giordano had a great idea there as far as reaching out to these big corporate companies that are coming in now for some more money. Thank you.
Mr. Rozzi?
Thank you. This is a great question, and as I mentioned in my opening statement, I did serve on the district's technology leadership committee, so I'm ready to hit the ground running as a board member, interfacing with the administration, interfacing with vendors. Technology is something that is very near and dear to me. I am going to graduate school for a technology-related field, so I think first and foremost, the district needs to invest in having a robust infrastructure. Wireless access points, they're great, they're very important, especially since we just had the introduction of the new Wi-Fi 6 standard that's going to be offering a lot of benefits. We have some trends like software-defined networking and virtualization for our infrastructure, so I would like to see the district build out a robust infrastructure, but we also have to talk about cybersecurity. I was just reading in the news the other week, there's another district down in Camden County that suffered a cyber attack with ransomware where they encrypted all their files, all this precious student information that could potentially fall into the wrong hands. So I think the district absolutely has to take cybersecurity seriously. We should also see as a cost savings measure what can be offloaded. We have companies like Amazon that provide infrastructure in the cloud, so I'd like to see what can we move to the cloud for a cost savings. And also we should talk about leveraging the existing data that we already have. I'm going to school to be a data scientist, and what that means, we're going to take raw data and turn that into value and insight. So I want to deploy technologies like AI and machine learning to leverage these vast data sets that we have, and we could use that to have intervention for failing students, to assess performance. And it takes the objectivity of an algorithm rather than having the room for human error. Obviously, we can't run everything automated, but I think that could help guide human decision makers and provide that level of insight. I have direct experience working with databases, Linux server, and all this infrastructure, so I'm familiar with this terminology, and I'm ready to hit the ground running to support 21st century technology modernization for our students.
Mr. Scanlon?
Thank you. One of the dangers of going last is repeating the good ideas that came before you. And I would just like to add that with technology, a lot of times we tend to think of technology on the more academic, higher level. Yet, if you look under the hood of your car, you'll realize that it's not getting repaired without technology. So we need to understand, too, that technology in the school has to be aimed at every student, a student that is college bound and a student that is going into automotive sciences or whatever, what other jobs are available. Everything is going to be computer technology in the future, and we have to prepare for that and be ready for it. And looking for grants or looking for aid, maybe from larger corporations or whatever, would be a way of paying for it, or just realizing that it's like pencils used to be 50 years ago. They're necessary. So, thank you.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you, Michael. Joe Kolachik will ask the second question.
Good evening, candidates. What can you do as a member of the Board of Education to ensure that resources are distributed effectively amongst the different programs in our district, especially in light of the significant cuts in state aid over the next few years?
Mr. Armato.
Great question, and thank you. Ensuring resources are spent properly is something that we talk about a lot around here. And I think what we need to do is we need to take a look at where we're doing well and where we need to do better. When you run a business, I run a sales team, you look at the people who perform real well for you and you let them go out and do their job. And then you take the ones who are in the middle of the pack and below, and you help them come up to an either the average level or even better. That's how we ensure how we fund these programs. We know what we're doing well, we need to identify where we need to get better, and we need to invest in those programs. Those programs may not be popular to everyone in town, but they may be popular to those students that are in that classroom. They may be popular to someone who wants to go into vocational, who someone wants to go into the armed forces, to someone who wants to be a biology teacher or a chemist. There's so much focus on the top tier portions of our education that the things like forensic sciences and psychology need to have the same amount of focus than all the other classes do. So how do you do it? You do it very simply. It's not rocket science. You peel back the onion, you look at where we're doing well, and you fund where we need to get better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armato. Ms. Marcatello.
So sometimes you're given just a bowl of grapes, let's say, and you have 10 kids that you need to feed them to, right? And you may not know who had what for breakfast, but the only way to find out is to ask. And as far as resources is concerned, there's only so much in the bucket, right? So the district is only going to get so much. And choosing what or who is more important is very subjective. So if there are 7 people at the table, all 7 of us could have a different opinion on where the lump sum goes. I am a firm believer in talking to your customers, and the teachers and the students and the residents of this town are the customers of the Board of Education. And so not everyone within the community is going to agree on what is more important and who those grapes need to go to, but at least you would get an idea of what the distribution should be. So if you have 10 grapes and 4 kids didn't have breakfast that morning, well, maybe they get an extra grape and everybody else is gonna get another one. So, and you don't need to own a business to understand that. You just have to manage your own life and be a responsible adult to do that, to manage a home. You only have so much coming out of your paycheck, and different things are gonna pop up every now and then, and you need to make a decision where the money is going to go and how the bills are gonna be paid. So when we talk about resources and distributing them equally, I think it's relative, and we really need to get everybody's input from the community.
Thank you, Ms. Marcatello. Mr. Giordano.
Thank you. It's a great question. I, like Mr. Armato, am in sales. However, I ran an entire sales organization. And the way we build a budget in a school district, it starts as a $0 budget build. And each administrator in each building, the building principal, starts out at $0. They go to their teaching staff, they look at their programs, they see how much specific things will cost, sports, curriculum, programs, and instruction, and then they come back with a dollar figure. A lot has been said about going through the budget line item by line item. And that budget's public. It's up there. So anybody sitting up here can go through it line item by line item and look at it. A budget build is a complicated process, but we need to ensure that your students' voices are being heard. And I've heard things where certain things have gotten cut, and you take a look at it and you understand, why? So a budget build should start with the programs that are most important to the students. It should involve all the teachers. It involves the district administration. And then as a board, we collectively sit down and look through that budget and see what programs are more important, what programs that we might need to put further money into to invest to bring them up. But it's a very complicated process, and it starts with students first. And student programs should never be cut. The three main expenses in a school district: salaries, benefits, and special education costs. Those are the three biggest line items in a budget. But it's the board's job to make sure that the programs stay intact for the kids, the high-performing students, the middle-of-the-pack students, and the students that need our most help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Ms. Larson.
Thank you. So I highly believe in budget prioritization. So as stated by my opponents, it does take a lot of priorities when it comes to deciding which programs should be cut and which programs need more funding. So as stated, the special education department does take a lot of funding, but it also has faced a lot of significant cuts. So I believe that we need to prioritize a lot of these programs over some other things. I think that there's a lot of creative ways that we can think outside the box to ensure that these programs are funded. I think we can get sponsors for these programs. I think that we can find creative ways for students to get real-world experience while also funding their own student programs. I think that this will prepare them a lot more for college than some of their academics. So I highly believe in ensuring that these programs are funded and that these students are able to have a say in what should be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Mr. Peters.
Our goal as board members or potential board members is to make sure that every possible program has enough funding to be successful. Obviously, that depending on where the funding is coming from or being cut, the governor is actually killing us right now with our budget. We lost, I believe, $4 million last year, and possibly losing some more next year in his plans. I'd really like to see a point where we can come up with some type of common denominator that each program would get the same amount of money. The one area I'd like to see more money put towards would be with the drug and alcohol issue. More counseling, more money going to that aspect of that. We just lost another ex-student last week, unfortunately, and we really need to do something with that. If we put more money towards that, I would like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Mr. Razi.
Thank you. So with respect to resources, I think the first priority for this district has to be to go to the mat and fight over these politically motivated state aid cuts. Other districts have been doing more. I actually just read Stafford is going to be doing a rally and to educate the public and partner with the public to advocate. So I think we have to take the fight to Trenton on these state aid cuts. Additionally, another area where we're losing resources is the Township Committee has cut these deals with developers where they have signed payment in lieu of taxes agreements where certain housing complexes are not paying a dime in school taxes. But yet there's still an impact to the district in terms of the resources being utilized. So one of the roles of the board is to have liaison meetings with the township. So I think it's time for us to negotiate with the Township Committee and get Lacey its fair share of these revenues, because we should not have wasteful tax schemes like that. I think it's also time to start taking a look at trimming the fat in some of these superfluous expenditures in the budget. And that could be through contracts, that could be through any other means. But one example of that is when we had the former business administrator retire, he ended up getting a $160,000 payment for unused sick days. I think sick days should be use it or lose it. I don't think it should be a piggy bank to cash in at the end of your career. I think that's unfortunate. I think what the board needs to do is, in taking a look at the budget, we need to balance the interests of the students, the staff, and the community, and be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers while funding as much of these programs as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Razi. Mr. Scanlon.
I think when it comes to sharing the funds and having to make difficult decisions should be shared throughout the budget. And this past year, it didn't seem to work that way. In past 3 years, as a matter of fact, it hit different groups of people, different support staff bore the brunt of the shortages. And I think that this year probably was the one that was the most telling because it involved the paraprofessionals, and that's very important part of the day for the children who need them. I think that there needs to be a more shared burden throughout the entire budget, administratively and at the school level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scanlon. Mrs. Downing.
As Mr. Giordano said, the budget in Lacey, we started as zero base, so it has already started, where principals meet with the VA and they talk about what they need in their schools. Athletic director, she meets with them, and everybody has a say and an input into that budget. And as time goes on, when we get the facts, the numbers from the state, what we're getting or not getting, then we start needing to cut. As far as resources, when it comes to the kids though, we'll fight tooth and nail to keep those programs in place. We have in the past, regardless of what you hear, we have in the past, and we will continue to do so in the future. Our strategic planning is so important right now, especially with the $400 million that is going to be cut from our district over the next 7 years, or 6 years now. The strategic planning committee needs to be not only parents, but we need teachers there, we need students there. At our last strategic planning meeting, we had quite a few students, and they came up with wonderful, wonderful ideas, things that we never even thought about. So hopefully we can get the students involved, more parents involved, the teachers involved. We had the police department involved the last time. They need to be involved too because of school security. And I think that strategic plan, bringing the whole community together, is a key to planning a budget and getting the resources, what is important and what isn't important, to the members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Downing, and thank you, Joe. Brian Engel will ask the third question.
Good evening. What's it like to run for the Board of Education? What motivates you knowing that if you win, you will spend long nights at an unpaid position?
Ms. Marcatello.
What's it like running for Board of Education? Well, I have learned things that I never anticipated, both positive and negative, and it has definitely been an eye-opening experience for sure. I've learned that people will hold on to negativity and criticism much easier and more fluid than they will with anything that's of positive light. I've learned that you have to prove yourself to be trusted, and then you will get honesty in return. I am well aware that this is very time-consuming. In the event that I am not elected, I don't plan to disappear into, a vanishing act. I plan to continue being involved and to continue empower students and staff and parents to continue to open up about things that are wrong that need to be corrected. Whether I'm chosen November 5th or not, I'm not going anywhere, and I do plan on continuing to be an advocate for everyone in Lacey Township.
Thank you, Ms. Marcatello. Mr. Giordano.
Thank you. When I said earlier that I've been here 48 years, I more than anyone probably understand what Lacey Pride's all about. Being a student like Gavin, Mr. Rozzi, like Mr. Peters, I think we understand what Lacey Pride's about. I played sports, I excelled in the classroom, I went to a good college, and I have a great career. But what motivates me to run is because of the experience that I had growing up here, the experience I had at Lenoka Harbor School, at the middle school, which is now the Mill Pond School, and the high school, is what motivates me. I have teachers that I remember that shaped my school experience, that basically gave me direction to go into the technology field. I was one of the first students to be in the advanced computing class in high school. Patty Cook was the teacher of that class. And I wasn't an exceptional math student, but computer programming at the time really interested me. So I've had teachers, I've had coaches that have helped shape the direction that I've gone in life, that have taught me valuable lessons. And I want to be an advocate, and have been an advocate, for the children of this district. And I believe they deserve the same opportunities, the same experiences, and hopefully they can have the same type of future when they either enter the military, the workforce, attend a university or a college, and excel when they get out into the real world. So that's what motivates me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Ms. Larson.
Thank you. So I could never imagine that I would be sitting up here on this stage after just graduating 2 years ago. I was not the best student in high school. I failed a few classes. I struggled with my mental health, and I did not have the resources necessary for me to succeed as a high school student. I wanted to be a part of a lot of clubs and programs, but I simply couldn't because I didn't have the necessary resources. A lot of this was ingrained in me as I left, because when I went to OCC, I had to reteach myself what it was to be a good student. And I don't blame necessarily any of the teachers or administration. I blame a lot of the priorities that haven't been in the right place. Standardized testing took a lot of stress, and it affects a lot of students. I just simply could not stand to watch a lot of my peers continue to struggle the same way that I did. So I'm running for Board of Ed to be able to give a voice to the struggling students of Lacey Township. I know that our proficiency isn't good, and we shouldn't feel ashamed of students that are in C-Track or B-Track and aren't taking AP classes. We need to ensure that there is educational equality for all students in our schools. I work in a preschool, so I spend a lot of time, as I stated in my opening, with kids that will be students at Lacey schools. I want to make sure that they have the least stressful period of their lives, and they can focus on the success and what they want to do, whether it be the military, becoming a police officer, becoming a scientist, whatever they want to do. We need to ensure that we give them the resources necessary to complete their goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Mr. Peters?
Could you repeat that question, please? I'm kind of confused with some of the answers that are coming out.
What's it like to run for Board of Education, and what motivates you to run for an unpaid position?
Okay, thank you. What's it like running for Board of Education? A lot more time than anticipated, and I absolutely love it. I love interacting with people, answering questions people have. One thing I was not aware of, back in May, I did get appointed against 4 other candidates that went for the position. I did get appointed to the board, and now I'm running for elect. I enjoy knocking on doors and talking with the residents of Lacey Township. When I knock on their door, I introduce myself, I hand them a brochure, and I talk to them. I said, do you have any concerns? Do you have any questions whatsoever that I can help you out with? And I start a conversation with people. There's a lot of houses in Lacey that have to be covered in order to campaign for this election. And I've spent 20 minutes at one house having a conversation with an elderly lady regarding concerns of what's happening in the school district, both negative and positive. So that aspect is running for the board. I really enjoy it. Being on the board, there is nothing better than sitting at that table and seeing a student get up there, that's student of the month, or see a student that's volunteering time and able to be involved with that, of recognizing the student for their achievements, for what they do as you're sitting on the board, and you say to yourself, wow, back in 1984 when I graduated through this district, now I'm able to see the other side of it. I went through it as a student, I went through it as an employee, and now I'm going through it as a board member. And there's nothing more that I would give to have the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Mr. Razi?
So what's it like to be running for school board? I'll tell you what, it's been quite the experience. We've been getting out into the community, talking with the good people of Lacey Township. Both Sonia, Sal, and I, we've had 2 public meet and greets at the Lacey Library. I was very happy with the turnout for that. We had a broad cross-section of the Lacey community that we've spoken with, and we've been to quite a few homes as well. It really gives me great pleasure to see the students. We had some great students come to our event with questions and concerns. The students really are why we are here. That is job number 1. Having been a student through the entire Lacey school system, I've had some pretty good experiences as well. I want to continue to support the excellent work of our educators. I want to bring our message directly to the people of Lacey Township. And you know, in terms of the time commitment, I'm balancing this with grad school, I'm balancing this with work, I'm balancing this with my other commitments, and I've enjoyed every minute of it because there really is something to be said about giving back to the community that gave you so much and raised you up and allowed you to be successful. And I've been participating in board meetings, you know, since 2013 and 14. I'm not afraid to stay for the long nights, and I'm not afraid to take on these responsibilities because Lacey schools have never mattered more, and I'm willing to be an advocate for our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. Mr. Scanlon.
I was motivated to run. What finally, the final straw, of course, was the budget cuts this year. I had 5 children who went through the school system, and they were all very successful. 3 of them are college graduates. I have 2 grandchildren that are currently in the system, and 1 will be joining the system next year. So I have a vested interest in what goes on in the town, in the township, and in the school. Some of the cuts, some of the things that have happened, I feel that a new point of view, another voice, somebody advocating for some of the things that have been done just would be maybe an advantage or a help. And that's the reason I ran. I ran because I have experience in committee work, having been on a township committee, Board of Adjustment, so on and so forth. I just feel that another voice at the table with a vested interest can't hurt. Maybe it can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scanlon. Mrs. Downing.
Okay, I've been asked this question when we've been going door to door. After 27 years, why do you want to continue doing this? And my answer is simple: students. I'm an educator. I know how important education is, and I really firmly believe that being on the school board, I can help students and help the education process in Lacey. There have been, as a board member, oftentimes you don't see what goes on in committees and in private session and just in general going to visit the schools and taking tours. You don't see that part of it. But there are programs that I have fought for that I thought have been excellent, and I really fought to get them into the schools. And then there have been programs where I fought vehemently to go against the school district. No, we don't need that. Because of my experience working in other school districts, I know what works and what doesn't work. And I've been able to bring that experience into the school board. So my reason why I'm running, simple: students. Bottom line, the education of students in Lacey Township. I too have a vested interest, 3 grandchildren. My daughter already went through, and that is why I'm running. Students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Downing. Mr. Armato.
It's one of the greatest honors I've ever been given. I haven't been asked to take part of. I had an opportunity over the summer to talk about coaching basketball at this great high school. And in that process, the opportunity to run for the school board was presented to me as well. I looked at both and I said, affect 14 kids or 4,100 kids? Never has an honor been bestowed upon me than to run for this prestigious position, than to go out every day, carry yourself with class and dignity. Be a role model for you, the students, right there in the front row, on how to carry yourself when you're running for a board like this. To talk to people and find out what the issues really are and what they really aren't. So this process for me has been outstanding. Everybody on this board here has been outstanding with me. The conversations that we've had with the opposition and with the peers that I'm running with has been great. We all care about one thing, you. But there's a lot of things that are missing, and that's what motivates me to run. My motivation comes from filling in the holes. My motivation comes in from getting everybody excited about coming to school again. My motivation comes from walking into this building and never wanting to leave because it's the greatest place you've ever been. This is a school that I've had the privilege of watching my 24-year-old graduate from, and I enjoyed his experience. I'm watching my daughter enjoy her experience and my younger son enjoy his experience, and I want that for everyone here. And a lot of that happens with my involvement, with my wife's involvement, in making sure that they get that experience. But we want you to be the leaders of that experience in this school. We want you to be the ones who walk the walk and talk the talk about what a great school it is. So that's what motivates me, to show you how to carry yourself, to make this a position that you want to run one day, make this a board that you want to be a part of one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armato, and thank you, Brian. Trey Kennis will ask the final question.
Good evening, candidates. As a group, the Close-Up Club has identified the following issues we would like to address in our building: vaping in the bathrooms, lack of access to the bathrooms, changes in the cafeteria, and the increase in the out-of-class workload. What policies can you, as a board member, implement to improve the school climate?
Mr. Giordano?
It's a long question, so I want you to repeat it, please.
All right. As a group, the Close-Up Club has identified the following issues we would like addressed in our building: vaping in the bathrooms, lack of access to the bathrooms, changes in the cafeteria, and the increase in the out-of-class workload. What policies can you implement as a board member to help improve school climate?
So when it comes to policies usually revolve around operational issues, managerial issues, and just overall how the district is run. So the issues that you raise are student issues, and they're important issues. And I have heard stories and have seen postings online where there's been issues in the bathroom. Those issues have been brought to the attention of district administration and have been remediated in a day. I've actually heard the story where access to the bathrooms have been restricted, but was told that that is no longer an issue. So you're saying that access to the bathrooms is still continued an issue?
Yeah, I would say it's still
So let me ask this back to students, back to you. When you have an issue like that, where do you feel that you can go?
I mean, usually if it's an issue with the bathroom or something like that, you kind of are just forced to go through the day. I mean, I would just say that it's kind of frustrating because typically there's only 2 bathrooms open in the whole school, and if you can't use them because there's 30 people in them.
But where would you go to tell your issue?
I mean,
this is what I want. This is what I'm trying to say to you. You should feel empowered to go to your teacher and explain the issue. You should then feel empowered, if you're not getting a response from your teacher, to go to your guidance counselor and explain the issue. And if you're not getting a response there, then you go to higher administration, and you should be heard. Absolutely. And then all board members have their email addresses up online. If there's truly an issue that any student or any parent has, number one is follow the chain of command. Go through your chain of command, because that's how you work in school and that's how you're going to work in life, going through the chain of command. But your issues are very important, so you need to be heard, but following that chain of command is also very important. What was the last issue that you said that you had?
An increase in the out-of-class workload is just being difficult for students.
So most students today, and with 23 seconds left, most students today, you have inordinate amounts of homework. You're studying for standardized testing, to pass standardized testing. You're studying for the SATs. You're studying to try to get into college. I am not a believer in standardized testing. I think we got to scale things back a little bit, give you guys a break. I think maybe you should have a prep period and look at ways that you can get the homework done in school so that you're not stressed out to the max and doing 4 hours of homework at night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Ms. Larson?
Great concerns. As a high school student, I had problems with all of those. I probably didn't use the bathroom at all in the 4 years that I went here, and it is definitely a continuous issue from what I hear from a lot of students that are still in this school. So when it comes to vaping, and as well as overloaded homework, I think it all comes back to stress. I think students don't want to be in the classroom. A lot of issues, lead to students feeling the need to go to a bathroom and, hit their Juul. I think that we need to address these issues instead of just outright banning Juuls, which, I mean, obviously we already have done with vapes, and we still see the same issues happening over and over again. So I think that we need to make available a lot of resources for stress in order to eliminate a lot of these growing concerns, as well as ensuring that students aren't going home doing hours of homework after they're already spending 6 hours a day in school, 5 days a week. Yet, as we see, our proficiency is no better. So the workload is increasing, yet our proficiency continues to decrease. So this issue takes a lot of effort and a collaborative effort on the part of the educators, the administration, and the board to be able to solve it. So I hope that we can solve it for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Mr. Peters.
As far as workload, you're not going to like my answer. I like workload. I like seeing kids working hard. I visually watch both my daughters go through this school, come home, 3 to 4 hours of homework a night. It prepared them for college and for life. It's a plain and simple fact. You work hard, you be successful. Nothing's given to you. If your teacher's giving you 4 to 6 hours of homework a night, a little excessive, but maybe 3 or 4 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, doing some research, finding something out, I think that's okay. I'm for that because I'm an old school type of guy. And I've witnessed my daughters go through the program on a dean's list and in a top college and be successful because of that. Not because they had a half-hour homework at night or this or that. And I talk to my kids all the time. I talk to them, you know, when you go to college, if you want to go to college, you have to be prepared for that. As far as the vaping aspect, and this is all new to us, as far as I know, that's considered a nicotine. Am I correct by saying that?
Yes.
Do you guys know about that?
Yeah.
All right? It's illegal to be on school grounds. There's signs everywhere. So what we need to do as board, or as a board member now, or as a future board member, step it up. Increase the penalty for that action. I don't know, what is the penalty now? Can I ask you that question? If you get caught vaping?
It's a $250 fine.
It's a $50 fine.
$250 fine.
$250 fine.
But it hasn't seemed to change anything personal.
Okay, all right. Is it happening through the hallways or just in the bathroom?
In the bathroom for the most part.
Because what I understand is there isn't much of an odor from this vaping, what's going on, and it can be done really quick and it's in the pocket, this and that, and the whole 9 yards. But as far as access to the bathroom, could you relate on that a little bit and tell me about that?
I mean, for the most part.
You're saying the bathroom's so full that you don't have time?
They're either full or they're closed for the most part. I mean, I've seen people, just 30 people, 40 people in the bathroom. I mean, it sounds like an exaggeration, but it really isn't. I mean, you're just elbow to elbow with people, and there's 3 urinals, 7 bathrooms in the school, and 5 of them are locked.
And that's at the interchange of classes, when you're
Yeah.
changing classes in the hallway?
But I've seen, even during classes, still 10 people, 15 people in there.
And your teachers are giving you access to use the restroom when you ask to in the middle of class?
For the most part.
Because I know you guys have, you know, with the block scheduling, the periods are a lot longer. They have to give you access to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Some people,
You're in there,
some
what,
teachers
82
do
minutes now,
not.
I believe?
Yeah, it's 82, 84, yeah.
Right, right. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Mr. Rozzi.
So that's a great question. You've certainly raised an array of important issues, and I think it's very important for the board to be able to take the temperature of the student body and see how they feel on these issues. And whether that's through policies or whether that's through communication, I think student issues are of paramount importance. So with reference to the bathroom issue, I definitely feel for you guys because I lived it. I remember walking the halls of this school since 2011, and I remember being around, you know, the different bathrooms. And now it's vaping, but when I was here, it was the tobacco use and cigarettes still. And I remember having that terrible smell, that crushing smell, getting a headache from that. And we need to have a safe learning environment for our students. Tobacco use is certainly inconsistent with that. I think Juuls and vaping, I think it's certainly a public health crisis. It's also a crisis of education. We need to give our students the tools to say no to those addictive substances. You know, as far as the board's role goes, our role is to set the expectations via the policies, whether that's to increase penalties or craft a new solution to counter this issue, or also working in partnership with the staff and administration in order to enforce this. I think bathroom access, I think we need to take a look at the logistics of that, because having it in a situation where students are not going to the bathroom and they're getting locked out, I think that's not acceptable. Now, as far as homework and out of classroom work goes, I will have to disagree with you know, my opponent to the right of me. I think homework certainly plays a role in terms of research and projects, but I question the value of saddling kids with 6 hours of work. I remember coming home, you know, dealing with the workload from AP classes and some of our OCC dual enrollment classes. And I think we really need to take a hard look is what is the end result of that homework? Is that creating value, or is this going to be just a rote task just to get through, just for the sake of getting work done? And I don't want to micromanage our teachers. I want to give them the freedom to teach as they see fit, but I think this is something we need to address at the department and district level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. Mr. Scanlon?
As to the vaping and bathroom access, the Clean Air Acts, obviously, and the human rights issue of being able to have access to a clean and usable bathroom are very important. And somehow it probably needs to be addressed with the students, through the administration, to try to come up with a workable solution. You see the problem. I'm sure the administration sees the problem, and maybe that's a case of where you need to sit down and figure out how you're going to solve the problem. But I do agree with you that it does need to be solved. Along with the increased out-of-school workload, as a former teacher, I didn't believe in giving excessive amounts of homework. I believe that the classroom environment was the place where work needed to be guided for a lot of students. Some of those students that were self-motivated, high-performing, they were going to do the extra work. It wasn't necessarily a good thing for everyone to have all that work. And not because they were lazy, or not because any other reason other than that they needed the guidance along the way. They needed the help. They needed the structured time to do it. Not every home has that. I'm aware of that. And I agree with you that increased workload out of school is not necessarily always the right answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scanlon. Mrs. Downing?
Seems like some things never change. When I was in high school, the bathroom was a problem too, and I too actually never went into the bathroom the whole time I was in high school. But that's an issue that you really do need to speak up and bring to your administrators, or start with your teachers and they can bring it to the administrators. We as a board, we can look at policies and see if they're up to date as far as vaping. There's always something new coming down the pike, and that's pretty new when it comes to policy. But that's something, we have 3 members on our policy committee, and we'll make sure that that comes up in policy for next month. But these issues, what you're talking about right now, this is perfect for you to come to strategic planning, to voice your opinions, to sit down with the whole community and come up. These are the problems that you as students see in the high school, and this is what we need to hear and we need to address. So I say, please get involved with strategic planning. As far as homework is concerned, I always taught first grade, so a lot different than high school. But as a school principal, I really had, I frowned upon a lot of homework, because I really do believe that, especially with your younger students, they need to go home and vent. They need to go out and play, even though you don't see many kids outside playing anymore. But you do need to get the exercise, to get out there, get that fresh air, and play. As far as high school, a lot of you probably go off to work, so you have the stress of all day at school, then you go to work at night trying to get money for whatever your future holds. So as far as homework, I think there should be a limit to how much homework you get. I think you should have some to follow up whatever you maybe didn't finish in class or you need to study for exams. But as far as busy work, no, I don't believe in it.
Thank you, Mrs. Downing. Mr. Amato?
One question is the cafeteria portion. Nobody wants to talk about that. What's wrong with the cafeteria?
Well, there's been a significant decrease in the amount of workers that are there. There's also been a decrease in the portion size and an increase in the pay, or in the amount per school lunch, I guess you could say.
Thank you. Thank you for repeating that question. Let's start with the homework. A teacher comes into school and she has a plan. And in that classroom, she's trying to get something done in 95 minutes, 90 minutes. I'm not sure, it's 90 or 95 minutes. And it all depends on how you guys behave in the classroom, how you focus, and how you take to the class. So if the teacher's able to get her job done during that time that you're in the classroom, that'll dictate how much homework you bring home with you that night. It may be nothing, It may be 5 minutes, it may be 10 minutes, it may be 15 minutes. But it all revolves around how you handle yourselves in the classroom. You see, respect in education is a two-way street. If you respect your teacher's going to respect you. Every student has the right to an education. And when we got that one kid, those two kids who disrupt the classroom, they disrupt everything, and that's where homework comes from, in our inability to get the work done in the classroom. With regards to the bathroom and the access, this is something where you guys also, I talked about in my opening statement, everybody needs to get involved. Well, we all need to get involved. And they're right. People here on the dais are right. You need to let people know. You need to bring it to their attention. You need to follow the chain of command. And if they're not listening, do it again. And then send an email and copy the head of staff and copy the vice principal and the principal. They will listen. They will listen. It will take work, but they will listen. With regards to the staff cuts and the portion size, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it was the decision that was made by the board to make these cuts, not in the portion size, but in the staff. Long lines, and you only got a certain amount of time to get lunch, eat the lunch, and then get back to your next class. As far as portion size, I'm not sure about that one, but ask for more. I don't know. But that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. Ms. Marcatello.
I'm definitely going to need extra time for this one. Vaping, I think was your first question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where the nurse and the mom come out in my answer. There's a reason why those kids are vaping, and we may not be able to fix that problem right now today. But if it's already an issue in this high school, that means we need to intercept the problem at a way younger age. So I'm very interested to find out what is in the curriculum as far as substance use and peer pressure and all of that stuff, and how frequently does it come out in the classes that you guys have throughout your entire academic career with us, because that is something that is not going to end when you graduate Lacey Township High School. Those kinds of issues are going to continue to haunt you forever. People are always going to try to get you to do something that you know you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway. The binder that is on the desk right outside this bathroom, I just have a question if you don't mind pausing me. The binder that's right outside in this hallway, I assume that's a bathroom sign in, sign out thing. How, can you explain to me how that process works?
If there's a teacher sitting there, then the students will be more obliged to sign in, or if it's a stricter teacher, then they have to sign in. But if there's not a teacher sitting at those desks, then they kind of just go in and out. Okay. So in between periods particularly, there's
so
no
I want
enforcing.
the students that are sitting in this front row to know that a few months ago, I can't, forgive me, because I don't remember which Board of Education meeting it was, but my suggestion was for all the paras that were let go last year, if we could have hallway monitors at every intersection in all of the schools, because of this reason. You should not have to wait until strategic planning meeting to tell us that there's 40 people sitting in a bathroom and you can't get in there. You shouldn't have to wait until strategic planning to tell us that they've decreased, you know, the portion sizes, increased the cost, and there's less workers in there, cutting time away from you having your break time, right? Can I keep going?
Yep, you have your extra minute.
Right? So you're entitled to your lunch period. If it's our fault that you're not getting your full lunch period, please don't wait until strategic planning. Please have your parents reach out to the Board of Education, because they don't know what they don't know, and the only way they're going to find out is if you guys come forward. The next thing I want to add on to that, to piggyback onto it, is that the biggest problem I have, and it's not your answer, but the fact that you had no one to go to, you were asked the question, what did you do about it, or who did you go to? The fact that you guys don't have trust in the adults that are running this institution for you is problem number one for me. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what is on the very bottom? food and water, bathroom, trust. Without that, can I get another one?
Well, we're going to go to Mr.
All right.
Giordano and then Ms. Downing, and then
Okay.
we can come back to you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Giordano, you have
So-
1 extra minute.
1 extra minute. So I just want to talk about the vaping thing really quick. It's something that I didn't address the first time around. There's a lot of new policy that's coming out from the state through the school districts in regards to vaping. It is absolutely an epidemic there, and it's not just Lacey schools, it's every school. It's charter schools, it's public schools, it's private schools. It's a problem. And I don't think, because the companies that are making these devices, they're marketing them to children. I think legislation has to happen at the state level. Some states are actually talking about making it illegal to sell these things. And there also has to be strict policy, but most importantly, there has to be awareness. There has to be parental awareness. And I agree from the standpoint of you shouldn't have to wait for strategic planning meetings and things like that. You need to be empowered. This is your school. This is your experience. You need to speak up. There's kids around the country that have spoken up and they've gained national attention because they've made their voices heard. You guys are in the driver's seat. This is your experience. You got to make your voices heard. Thank you.
Mrs. Downing?
Yeah, basically the same thing Mr. Giordano said. I did not say you had to wait for strategic planning. What I did say, if you heard me, was that you need to speak to someone in your high school or a teacher who will speak to the administration. Strategic planning, though, is an avenue where we can bring all these issues, not just this one, not just the cafeteria, but all issues to the board and to the district. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Marcatello, would you like to use your extra rebuttal?
Yes, please. So as far as the workload is concerned, we hit on so many things, and I know that minors in 2019 are way more stressed out than any of us were when we were your age. There are many, many different things going on. So we're encouraging you to take honors. We're encouraging you to do AP. We're encouraging you to be involved in clubs. We're encouraging you to do sports. We're encouraging you to have family time. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And now we're going to throw homework at you after you sat in a class for 85 minutes during the day. So I don't want you to misunderstand me. I think that homework is important, but it should be regulated. And we should have, maybe the Board of Education needs to track and trend how that homework is assigned and look a little bit deeper without micromanaging the educators. But just kind of take a look and see how that's going. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Trey. At this time, we'll move to closing statements. Mr. Scanlon, you are up first.
Oh, okay, thank you. I got involved in running for the board because I felt that our support staff, which is the backbone of the school, was under attack. First, they cut the health aides, then they cut the cafeteria workers, and we just heard the result of that. They cut the paraprofessionals. The concern is who's next. Would it be the bus drivers, the custodians? Future, we need to work with what we have. We know that there's cuts from the state. We have a list of what they are. They add up to about $4 million plus over the next several years. And sitting and complaining about them is one thing, but we do need to deal with the fact that that's what we have right now. So we need to be productive and creative with what we have. Maybe it means involving grant writers, seeking outside support from corporations or community assistance, whatever. Other thing that's important to do is to keep addressing poor student performance, which has a huge impact on self-esteem. And that is a problem when we start to look at the negative feeling towards the school by a lot of people. Our cuts cannot, as what I tried to say before was that they need to be spread out over everything, that they needed to be divided up, not just hit in one area, but then again, no area would be totally isolated from it. We need to budget across the budget. At the same time, we need to continue to offer programs. that will help our students be competitive as they apply and move out for college, for higher education, or entering the job market. They need to be competitive at all levels. And finally, just to summarize my background, I would like to think that no matter who gets elected to the board, if I'm one of them, I would be able to work with them. I'd be able to bring my experience, my ability to bring ideas to the table, compromise, and work productively to come up with solutions for the future. Thank you.
Mrs. Downing?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the Close-Up Club for leading such a great night. Jake, you did a wonderful job keeping it moving. And thank you to WLTS for filming this so the whole community can see it. So after being elected for 9 terms on the Lacey Township School Board, you may wonder why I'm running again. First and foremost, as I said before, I am an educator. I retired after 44 years as a teacher and administrator. And as over the past 6 years, I've served as an interim in different districts, staying abreast of all new curriculum and new policies in education. And as I said, my daughter graduated from Lacey, and I have 3 grandchildren presently in the district. Over the past 27 years, I was fortunate to serve with some very smart, respected, and good people who work together as a team for the students of Lacey. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Our students deserve an education where they can grow and become well-educated, independent adults. They are the future. I would like to continue my role as a board member, working together as a team. I can't emphasize that enough, as a team, to ensure that Lacey schools maintain a positive reputation in a as a district with great teachers and great staff. Please support my team, myself and my team, Giordano, McAvoy, and Peters, in the next election, November 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Amato?
What a great event you guys put together. And you've proven that when you put your minds together, when we work together, we can do great things. Thank you. Thank you for doing a great evening tonight.
Ms. Marcatello? Oh, I apologize. I apologize. Mr. Amato, I thought you were done, but continue.
We talk about having teachers on the board, and just because I don't hold a degree in teaching doesn't mean I'm not a teacher. I'm a teacher at home to my children. I'm a teacher on the basketball court to my players. I'm a teacher in religious education. I'm constantly teaching. That's my job as a resident of this town, as a role model of a person who's coached so many young boys and girls in this town. It's my job to continue teaching, to how to overcome adversity and how to overcome so many different things that are thrown at you in this life that we're about to embark on this journey. But our current board just spoke about the excitement over their last 3 to 5 year plan. And it's right. The greatest achievement they got out of that 3 to 5 year plan is that they created one. However, we were only 50% success in hitting those goals. 50% is not passing. Not on the school board, not in the classroom, and certainly not at work. We still have Mill Pond not being able to be used. I know there's a lot of work that's involved in taking out mercury and things like that, but it should have been done with a little bit more urgency to get these kids to have gym. It's been over a year now, or close to over a year. So there's so much going on, but nothing being accomplished. There's a lot of good people on this board who are looking to do a lot of good things, but you know what? They've been given their chance, and nothing's got accomplished. I'm here tonight to tell you that when I get elected on November 5th, I'm going to work for every single one of you. I'm going to go out to the community and be involved like I am now. I'm going to talk to your parents, and I'm going to talk to your teachers, and I'm going to ask them what we really need, and ask them how we can do it together. Just like you guys put this event together tonight, I'm going to work with everybody in town to fix what we need to get fixed in here. This is a prominent town. I moved into this town with pride and passion and so much excitement. And guess what? None of that is gone. You know why? Because I look at things the right way. I know that things can be fixed. And if you vote for me on November 5th, you'll see exactly why I'm here and why people ask me to run. Because when you ask Sal Amato to do something, it gets done. Thank you.
Again, I apologize to Mr. Amato. Ms. Marcatello, it is now your turn.
I feel that you don't need to be born and raised in Lacey Township to have a vested interest. Having pride simply means that you're being proud of what and who you're associated with. Poor decisions have already been made, and we're trying to catch up with those poor decisions financially. Improvement doesn't always mean that you need to spend money. Just so everyone knows, the PTAs and PTOs of the elementary schools are losing $12,000 to $16,000 because they will not be able to fundraise food items during school hours. So that's a big chunk of money that's being taken away from students and parents from grades K through 6. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. 2020 could be the pivotal year for Lacey Township schools. Fresh minds, new faces, and a different culture to change the climate of not just the district, but of the town as a whole. It's imperative to sustain the tradition of pride and excellence, not just from our students, but from our staff, our parents, community members, and most importantly, administration and the Board of Education. It's going to take everyone to become involved. All hands on deck and keep our eyes on the goal. And that goal is safe, healthy, successful kids who grow up to become young adults proud to call Lacey Township their alma mater. Jocelyn Elder said it best: you can't educate a child who isn't healthy, and you can't keep a child healthy who isn't educated. It's a vicious cycle, and we need to hit both ends of the spectrum so that we do have the academic success rates that this community is looking for. School-age children today have an abundant amount of stress that we as adults have never even experienced. Spending money and saving money as if it were our own bank account would be a good place to start to clean things up in our financial status. I don't gamble with my own money, and I certainly don't see it fit to gamble with anyone else's hard-earned pennies. We can do this. It's going to be difficult. There will be a few growing pains. Not everyone is going to be happy, but going back to that distribution of equality, I think that's where we need to focus. We need to stick together for the good of everyone involved, and by everyone that means students, staff, residents, stakeholders, and everyone else in between. Thank you.
Mr. Giordano?
Thank you. You know, I think it's important to realize that this district is facing $4.4 million of state aid cuts, and I've said it numerous times tonight. I'm not so sure you want people that compare district finances to a bowl of grapes making financial decisions on a $78 million budget. I've been there. I've managed an $80 million company. I've managed a $3 million P&L. I'm a certified school business administrator. I understand school finances. I think the most important thing, though, is not to really talk about myself, but to talk about the team atmosphere and what it means to work together as a team. There's been a lot of online rhetoric and nonsense that has been passed around. Thankfully, we've kept it relatively civil here tonight. But you need to make decisions based on facts, and people need to understand facts. We've talked about reviewing the budget line item by line item, and that budget's been online for the public to view since it was passed last year and even before preliminarily. I have a lot of respect for the people that sit up here on the stage because it is a lot of time and it is a big commitment. And no, while I don't necessarily think that you have to be born and raised or live here your entire life, I do think there's something to be said for being a resident of the town and going through the district, because you understand the fabric of the community and you understand what Lacey is all about and Lacey Pride is all about. With 1 minute and 38 seconds, some things that I'd like to see as we move forward, because next year we're going to lose almost $1 million in aid. We have to know how to plan, and we have to know how to be fiscally responsible, and I mentioned some of those things early on. I want to see an expansion in our preschool programs and the creation of an early childhood learning center. I want to see pathways to success for graduation, not for students that just want to go to college or university, but for students that want to enter the military or students that want to enter a trade. The infrastructure of this country needs to be rebuilt, and you guys could do it. You could be carpenters, electricians, plumbers. There's a lot of money to be made. You can own your own business someday. But you need mentors and people that can help you solve those problems and figure out what to do with your life. We need to focus on financial and life skills to teach you guys how to open up a bank account, how to manage a checking account, how to build credit, how to get a car loan. These are all things that are super important. They're super life skills. We need to provide better SAT test preparation for the students that choose to go to school and want to take those paths. And finally, we need to focus on continued infrastructure management and fiscal management. This is not the time for inexperience. I question motivation, why people run. I know why I run. I know why my team runs, and it's all about kids and putting kids first. So with that, I'm going to ask you to support my team of Donna McAvoy, Linda Downing, and Skip Peters. We have experience. This district has a lot to be proud of. There's a lot that we can continue to do, move forward, and I'd like to work with this team to continue to help that happen. Thank you.
Ms. Larson?
Thank you. So I want to start with a quote by former Secretary of State Terrell Bell. "We must acknowledge that for most Americans, neither diligence in learning nor rigorous standards of performance prevail. How do we once again become a nation of learners in which attitudes towards intellectual pursuit and quality of work have excellence at their cores?" The best day of my life was when I graduated Lacey Township High School. Not because I had the best experience, but because I finally had the ability to discover my individual strengths, which I have been able to do successfully since leaving this school. Now, I don't think that most students are having the same issues that I specifically had, but I do think that there is a large issue with students being able to get that individual resources and help that they need to succeed. I believe that as a Board of Ed candidate, I would be able to ensure that the everyday struggles of students are met, such as the ones that were raised before. Vaping in the bathroom, not being able to use the bathrooms, lunch. There's just so many issues. Air conditioning too. I have a 5-year-old in my preschool that has even stated that it is too hot in school for them and they cry. It is disappointing that a lot of the criticisms that students have brought up have not been addressed. I do believe that students have been using their voices. I know because I was one of them in high school, but I was continuously shot down by my elders and my superiors because I did not have the experience. I do believe that I could address a lot of these concerns, and I do believe as a candidate that I'm going to bring a lot of great things to this school, specifically for the students, educators, and parents. Thank you.
Mr. Peters?
Thank you. First of all, guys, you did an awesome job today. Super impressed the way you spoke, the way you presented yourself, and that's what I like to see in a Lacey student. Couple of things. We spoke about finances, we spoke about vaping, we spoke about numerous different things tonight, and you guys had some great questions. I've been on the board for 4 months, and in 4 months' time, I have seen vestibules in every building. We now have a system now where you do not have access to the building unless you have an appointment. You walk in, you have to show ID. Once your identification is shown, you take your ID and they scan it and they check your background on you before you walk in the door. And they give you a picture of yourself with your ID before you're allowed into the building. Every school now has armed officers in there for security. The world has changed a little bit and we have made changes to accommodate that. I understand some other opponents are saying that things are bad. Well, I've been on this board for 4 months. And the team that I'm partially running with is on that board also, and I've seen those improvements in a matter of 4 months' time. So things are going well. On a closing statement, when I was appointed on the board 4 months ago, I was asked 3 questions, with some other opponents who are up on this table right now that did not make it. And every question I responded with, the student comes first. The child comes first. Any decision that I make on this school board, sitting at that bench, or sitting at that table, or in a meeting, whether it be committee meeting, policy meeting, whatever it be, the student is going to come first. Thank you very much, and guys, you did a great job. Appreciate it.
Mr. Rozzi?
You know, once again, I want to thank the students of the Close-Up Club for doing such an amazing job. I hope you guys will continue to be involved. But with that being said, on November 5th, the voters of Lacey Township have a chance to make a change on our Board of Education. They have a chance to restore power to the people and chart a new course for the future of Lacey schools. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The same old approaches have failed Lacey schools, as is evident from the array of problems facing our district. We can't turn back the clock on the mistakes that have been made in the past, but we can prevent them from happening again by electing new leadership to our board who will be vigilant. My team and I will manage every penny of your tax dollars as if they were our own. We're committed to delivering educational excellence while being fiscally responsible to our taxpayers. We are not beholden to any special interests and have no relatives on the district payroll. Our hands are not tied by the conflicts of interest that limit some of our opponents from voting on important business that comes before the board. On November 5th, I would be honored to have your support. Please vote for myself, Sonia, and Sal, lines 1, 4, and 7, and let's bring real change to the Lacey Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and thank you to all who attended tonight's debate. The event will be aired on Comcast Channel 21 up until the day of the election and will be available at youtube.com/WLTS TV. It has currently come to my attention that we had an incorrection prior to the last debate. So please make your voices heard on November 5th. Again, that's November 5th. Thank you and have a safe drive home.
Great job, guys.
Nice job, guys.